Hey friends, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm getting the first 3 sessions in on the Intuition Premium Liners. Alright, so today I'm just going to focus on skating and then try and get a narrative in at the end. Alright, so that wraps up today's lunch break session with the Intuition Liners. You know, overall, really like the Rect shock absorber. It makes for really comfortable and pillowy landings without being so overly soft that it kills your responsiveness. Intuition Liners, I felt that it provided an appropriate amount of support for my ankles given how flexy these skates are, but still worked with the skate to provide a great amount of flex. And how I judge, how flexy a skate is really by how easy it is to do top sides on square ledges, not coping ledges, square ledges. And the only thing that I noticed today is my foot is still floating just a little inside the Intuition Liner, which this is the first session that I've skated these gold ones. And so what that means is as they continue to break in, they are going to open up a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is just play with some different insoles and see, is there something that fills the space in the shell even more. But to me, that's kind of crazy. I got 5mm that tapers to 7. I've got the Intuition Liner, and it still feels like I'm floating around there. Like there's quite a bit of room in this shell. So I think that wraps up this part of the video. So what I'm going to do, play with the insoles, get another session or 2 in, and then post a video. So that wraps up today. So I'm back for day 2 with the Intuition Liners. I put in a very thin Dr. Scholl's basically insole that's flat on the inside of the Intuition Liners. So let's go ahead and try it out. All right, so let's talk real quick about what I changed with the skate. So after my second session with the Intuitions, I pulled the liner out, pulled the rect insoles out, just to kind of play around with fit. And I noticed that the Faction shock absorber was cratered just from my heel from so many landings. Something I thought was going to happen, but I didn't really expect it after a month. So I decided, that, since I'm trying to dial in the fit on these, it's going to be better for me to basically take out the stock shock absorber and come up with a system that, what's the best way to say it, isn't going to permanently compress or change over time. So that way, I'm going through this process once of trying to get everything dialed in. So basically what I went back with is, since the Faction is a flat bottom skate, I went back with the dead shock absorber. I had a King Foam 5mm insole and I trimmed that to fit the skate. I put on a bedroom owl shock absorber. It's those new red ones. And then on the inside of the Intuition, I put basically that Intuition like foam insole that you use to fill like half sizes. And that felt pretty decent around my house, and I took it around the block a couple times just to see how it fit, and it actually felt pretty decent. But one thing that I noticed is with the shock absorber in the stock Faction liners and the insole is like combined, they were over 20mm in thickness, which is actually like quite a bit. And as I was playing around, I found that, I had to go back with basically the same amount of drop from the heel to the front of the skate to keep my front of my foot from just feeling squished and giving me that like Rem's 6-toe feeling. So let's go ahead and get laced up and we'll get to it. All right, let's talk real quick about a couple changes I made. So at the park I'm at today, it has pretty rough concrete with short run up, so I threw on my flat frames. And then I did go ahead and add a 45 strap because I wanted to see if that does anything to the skate. So. All right, guys, well, that wraps up 3 sessions with the Intuition liners. I have a pair of the Intuition Premiums in my FR1 skates that I use for big wheel skating, and they feel really good in those. I really wanted to try the Intuition Premiums in aggressive, and I felt that after 3 hours, approximately 7 to 8 hours of skating, they feel almost 100% broken in. They're super responsive. They provide an appropriate amount of flex. I like that they're breathable, and they seem to fit my foot really, really well. The problem is just with the Faction skate right now. I added a whole shitload of insoles and shock absorbers to make it comfortable, and I'd say today was generally really comfortable skating. Having the dead shock absorber combined with the bedroom owl shock absorber, it was a little spongy skating, but I would rather take a little sponginess than having my foot completely floating and drifting around in the skate. Right now, is it perfect? No, but it was decent. And you know, today I just felt really off. I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep, went to a concert last night, and you know, just wasn't feeling it, but still was able to get some skating in and try on you know, got a lot of skating on different obstacles and things with the Intuition liners just over the last 3 sessions. So I think that was really good. I don't know if there's anything more to add besides, you know, I'm gonna continue skating these, and you know, honestly, if these liners open up a lot more, my foot starts drifting again, I'm kind of out of options to fill the shell. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but you know, for now, this works and I'm gonna keep skating. Thanks all for checking in, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye!